Brothers and sisters, I'm grateful to be with you today. My name is Tom Holton. This is Christ's Restored Gospel, and this is another conference capstones um, message that I want to focus on today. And today we're looking at Elder Rasband, Elder Ronald Rasband, and his message to the church in April of this year, entitled Right Before Our Eyes. And this was a message focusing essentially on three things to my mind. The first was the great majestic moment of missionary work that we're living in, and indeed the entire work of salvation, the hastening of the gathering of Israel. And so Elder Rasband focused on the amazing things happening in missionary work all throughout the earth. We know that there's great sharing of the gospel going on. Many people are referring themselves to be taught. In fact, recently in our little branch here in the middle of Ireland, we've had 10 baptisms in the last 2 months, and 8 of those were convert baptisms. And there are people coming to church virtually every week to learn about the gospel, to meet with the missionaries. I've been teaching nearly every week online with the missionaries, and many other members have had that experience as well. So it's great to see, and it's not just this branch, but all over this island and all over the mission, and indeed throughout Europe and throughout the world, this great work is happening. There are an enormous number of missions and missionaries and people involved in the work of salvation. So we are living in this majestic moment that President Nelson has spoken about. And Elder Rasband reminds us that in 1830, when the church was formally organized, there was only a handful of members. But Joseph Smith prophesied that the church would fill North and South America, that eventually it would fill the world. We are living in the day and time when that literally is happening, when this great work of salvation is happening. So it's wonderful to hear the testimony of an apostle, Elder Rasband, talking about how President Nelson's prophetic doctrine, prophetic teaching of living in the majesty of this moment, this miraculous moment where the Lord is hastening his work. That's important, that's significant. Everywhere we see, from the islands of the sea across the world to all countries, kindreds, tongues, and people, this great work is going on. And as Joseph Smith said, no unhallowed hand can stop the work from progressing. Some may try to oppose us, some are detractors, but no one will be able to succeed in stopping this work from occurring. So what a beautiful encouraging doctrine, encouraging testimony that this is the work of gathering, this is the work of sharing the gospel, this is the work that we've been commissioned to do, that Ephraim, the tribe of Ephraim, has been commissioned to do in these latter days, and indeed all the house of Israel is to be gathered. We are to bring the gospel message to all the earth. Secondly, he talks about the hastening of temple work and how the temples are spreading across the land. The phrase has been used, dotting the earth with temples, and both Elder Rasband and Elder Bednar have talked about that recently. In fact, Elder Bednar said that we've heard for years about prophets talking about one day temples will dot the earth. And Elder Bednar pointed out to us, today we are living in that day. Temples are dotting the earth. Elder Rasband talks about his great privilege of being involved in temple dedications and how it's a joy to see the temple work that binds families for time and all eternity, happening all over the earth in places that we may have previously thought the work could not flourish, but it has and will continue to flourish. So temples dotting the earth, and a hastening of the work of salvation, a hastening of the spirit of Elijah, a hastening of members going to the temple. We hear talk of youth going to the temple in such abundance numbers in so many places that people are finding it hard to get into the temples in the Philippines and in Utah, and of course even here in Europe, where I've found there are so many youth going to the temple. It can be very difficult to get accommodation. The accommodation center can be filled up for months in advance. So these are fantastic times. This is the work of the Lord preparing. People joining the church, seeking out the missionaries, people seeking to go to the house of the Lord, and having a renewed interest in the family history work, which is preparatory to the great work of sealing those families together in the house of the Lord. So how grateful I am for that. And then the third thing that Elder Rasband focuses on is this issue of this counsel that he gives us to give equal time, not spare time, to the Lord. And that concept really struck me. He talks about the Lord deserves our time, our efforts, our energies, our talents, our enthusiasm. And there's a great work to be done. There's prayer, there's scripture study, there's ministering, there's come follow me, there's temple service, there's missionary labor, service projects, and the list goes on and on and on, meetings to attend, work to perform, service to render, souls to save. And Elder Rasband invites us to give equal time, not just spare time, not just occasional time, not just the time that's left over, but priority time. The importance of us giving our time to the Lord as what that signifies, what that represents, that indicates to the Lord how serious we are about his work and his great and marvelous work, and for us to be involved in that work. So I'm grateful for those concepts. I'm grateful for this idea right before our eyes that this miraculous work of the Lord is unfolding in an unprecedented way, in an exponential, expansive way. We are seeing the flood of gospel work across the earth, among the youth, among the young adults, among all of us, all the members of the church. There's a great flowering and a blossoming. Elder Rasband is testifying that this is fulfillment of prophecy. This is what Isaiah prophesied. This is the work of the gathering. This is the work of hastening. This is the work of uniting families for eternity through the bonds of the everlasting covenant. I'm so grateful to be prophet-led. I'm so grateful that we can share the restored gospel, the revelation-based restoration of keys, of knowledge, of doctrine, of authority, of power, of truth, pure, undiluted, undistilled truth, or distilled truth, I should say, that we are sharing that truth with the world in ever increasing numbers. I'm grateful for this testimony. I'm grateful for prophets and apostles. I'm grateful that we are led by prophets and that we can be inspired and instructed and directed and cautioned and encouraged by their divine counsel. May we always remember that we are prophet-led, to follow our prophets. And as we do so, we will find great joy and rejoicing.